Hey YouTubers, it's Charlie. So a lot of cool stuff happening behind the scenes at Game of Thrones Season 7. There's some new evidence to suggest that we might get some Daenerys Sansa stuff happening in the future. So this is going to be a predictions video. Just careful for spoilers for all the stuff that's happened on the show so far. Everybody wants to see Jon Snow meet up with Daenerys. It looks like that might not happen until like the very end of the season, if not get pushed to the season after that. But we will get to see a union between the wolf and the dragon. It's just, not the wolf that you're thinking of. It seems like Sansa is the one who's going to be treating with Daenerys via Brienne and Davos.
Looks like a siege, my lady.
You have a keen military mind, Pod.
So like the Watchers people and the other people that are camping the sets in the ruins where they're shooting the dragon pit scenes make it seem like there's going to be a meeting with Daenerys and people from the north. But supposedly it's only going to be Brienne and Davos. And Brienne serves Sansa, she doesn't serve Jon Snow. So you kind of think about the scene between Yara and Daenerys last season in the way she was the one to engineer that alliance. I mean, that's kind of unfair because Theon can barely put two sentences together since he's kind of thrown away his Reek persona. He's slowly clawing his way back to being normal, but he's never going to be completely whole again. So he kind of recognizes that Yara is the better person to lead, at least from the Ironborn perspective. So she's the one to treat with Daenerys. I'm up for anything. Daenerys kind of cocks her head. Ooh, that's an interesting thought. And they just have a little bit of fun. It turns into pure fan fiction after that because you're like, oh, they're probably going to get it on.
In return, I expect you want me to support your claim to the throne of the Iron Islands?
Not my claim. Hers.
And what's wrong with you?
I'm not fit to rule.
Euron's offer is also an offer of marriage. You see, you won't get one without the other.
And I imagine your offer is free of any marriage demands.
I never demand, but I'm up for anything, really. No more.
But now you have a similar scene in the Dragon Pit, which looks like it's happening relatively late in the season, where Daenerys has to deal with the North. So Jon Snow, very lovable person, not the best at politicking. So that seems like a good opportunity for Sansa to step up, just via Brienne and Davos, to send them to see what the hell's going on with this new invading force that they've learned about. Because the Maesters are probably still operating out of the Citadel, so everybody be getting ravens about what's going on in King's Landing and hearing about Daenerys versus Cersei. So naturally, a bunch of dragons enter King's Landing, and you have an army in the north. You're going to want to send some people down to check it out, so it seems like Sansa is the person behind that, like the voice of reason. But even though I do think we'll, see like Jon Snow, Daenerys moments, I feel like most of those will happen on the battlefield. Because George R.R. Martin always has like moments and characters that seem like they're echoes of the past, not just like completely recycling plots that happened previously, but it seems like they're going to be honoring moments on the show from Robert's Rebellion. So it seems like they're having a little bit of fun with the idea of Jon Snow being an amazing warrior, like Robert, but not so great with ruling. And that was Sansa's early objection. Like Sophie Turner has talked about that when she's talking about season 7 stuff. Sansa feels like Jon Snow is great, just not the greatest at the actual management of the kingdom.
You and your trusted advisors, and you sit around making your plans on how to defeat a man you don't know. I lived with him. I know the way his mind works. I know how he likes to hurt people. Did it ever once occur to you that I might have some insight?
You're right.
You think he's going to fall into your trap? He won't. He's the one who lays traps.
He's overconfident.
He plays with people. He's far better at it than you. He's been doing it all his life.
Aye, and what have I been doing all my life? Playing with broomsticks. I've fought beyond the wall against worse than Ramsay Bolton. I've defended the wall from worse than Ramsay Bolton.
You don't know him. We'll never get him back. Rickon is Ned Stark's true-born son, which makes him a greater threat to Ramsay than you, a bastard, or me, a girl. As long as he lives, Ramsay's claim to Winterfell will be contested, which means he won't live long.
We can't give up on our brother.
Listen to me, please. He wants you to make a mistake.
Of course he does. What should I do differently?
I don't know. I don't know anything about battles. Just don't do what he wants you to do.
That's good advice.
You think that's obvious?
So, if you're going to have to treat with another big invading force, naturally the person who's better at politicking is going to step forward for that moment. So you have like Sansa, Via, Brienne, and Davos. But I don't think the series is like completely throwing men under the bus or anything like that. I think it's just having a little bit of fun with the idea that a bunch of terrible decisions were made during and after Robert's Rebellion, and they don't want to repeat that. So you have all these female characters seizing power. Like Cersei always felt like she was better at being in charge than Jaime was, and Jaime never showed any interest in it growing up. Really rudderless person. Cersei was the one with the drive, but because she was a woman, she was kind of used as a pawn, married off to form alliances. But now she sees power. Obviously we have Cersei versus Daenerys, so this all seems like it's happening after that. So not to address that, just focusing more on the female characters on the show and all the different storylines seizing power. So we still have Euron floating around. We don't know quite what's happened to him yet, but I do think it's funny that like even though you have like terrible male characters like Euron, like he's supposed to be a villain, you have good male characters like Jon Snow, they're still being treated the same in their own storylines. Like, you are amazing at smashing stuff, but we actually need to have a conversation here, so you go sit down and we'll let the women take care of this. Which makes you think of the super slashy fanfic ending to Game of Thrones. Bittersweet, like all the male characters die off, including Jon Snow, and Daenerys, Sansa, Yara just end up in like a sex pile on one of their beds.
You think they're fucking? What? No.
That would be hilarious. I can't wait to see the fanfiction when we get to season 8. But I do think when we get to the end of season 7, we will have Daenerys learning about the threat of the White Walkers and treating with the Starks. Like, okay, so this problem is taken care of in King's Landing, the immediate threat. So now we can deal with the threat up in the north. Because I think the big conflict of season 7 is going to be the Cersei battle. The White Walkers, of course, will be the big threat of the final season. But give me all your Daenerys Sansa predictions in the comments. Do you think that Sansa is going to be the one to win Daenerys over, not Jon Snow? Just because it seems like that's what she's going to be good at. Jon Snow doesn't seem like he's super hot on listening to directions.
What should I do differently?
I don't know. I don't know anything about battles. Just don't do what he wants you to do.
Jon Snow, don't charge the battlefield. Whatever you do, don't charge. Sees Rickon, charges immediately. So whatever the drama is between Jon Snow and Sansa, I know everybody's like, are they going to get married? That's like a whole other thing. I don't think that that's going to stick. Although I do think that that will come up. Because people who see the king in the north will want an heir, so they'll be like, well, you need to have a baby now. And in order to have a legitimate baby, you have to get married to someone of noble blood. So that's going to be a whole other level of craziness. It would be a pretty big WTF if they married Jon Snow to Sansa, but you have to wonder what Littlefinger's going to do in all this, because he seems like he has his hooks in Sansa pretty good. So unless he can get Sansa to marry Jon Snow, and then kill him off somehow, I don't think he's going to be too hot on the idea of them getting married. But they're the current de facto rulers of the North, or co-rulers, so it just remains to be seen, but I wouldn't be surprised if they push that till later in the season. But congratulations to this week's Game of Thrones winner, Arena Destroyer. You win a $20 Amazon gift card. Be sure to private message me on the back end of my channel so I can get your contact details. There is a new round of the Game of Thrones giveaway starting now. All you have to do to enter is be a subscriber, leave a comment on this video. If there are any other bonus videos you guys want this next week, just let me know in the comments. We're not going to get more footage for Season 7 for a long time, but there's still like a whole bunch of stuff happening on the set. They still have a lot of filming left to do, but most of the big main actors have come back to set. Like Arya's on set, even the little bear is back, so I might do a video for some of those other characters next. But really big stuff happening right now. We're getting ready to start Walking Dead Season 7. The AMC people sent me a Negan bat, so I'm expecting the HBO people to send me a dragon next year when Season 7 starts. We'll see if they deliver. I'll hold my breath on that and see how quickly I pass out. But a lot more Marvel DC coming this weekend, so I'll just try and post that stuff as quick as possible. While you guys wait for that to post, you can click here for my Arya Gendry video, and you can click here to rewatch that Season 7 teaser trailer. Thank you so much for watching, everybody. Let's high five. I'll see you guys tonight.